Today, you'll hear the story of a wealthy businessman who kisses his maid to make his ex jealous, only to discover true love comes from unexpected places. Before this exciting story, tell US where you're listening from, and leave a like if you enjoy it, or comment something if you don't like it. The morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Blake Harrison's penthouse apartment in downtown Manhattan. At 32, Blake had everything most people dreamed of: a successful investment firm, a luxurious home with breathtaking views of Central Park, and the kind of wealth that ensured he never had to check price tags. His perfectly tailored Tom Ford suit hugged his athletic frame as he poured himself a cup of single-origin Ethiopian coffee. But beneath the polished exterior, Blake was seething. The notification on his phone was like salt in an open wound. Miranda, his ex-fiancée of 3 months, had just posted pictures of her engagement to Richard Coleman, Blake's former business partner. The betrayal stung even more because it had happened so quickly after their breakup. "Is everything all right, mister Harrison?" A soft voice with a slight Hispanic accent broke through his angry thoughts. Blake looked up to see Elena Rodriguez, his maid of 6 months, standing in the doorway. At 27, Elena was undeniably beautiful, with warm brown eyes and thick dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. But Blake barely noticed her beyond giving instructions about his household. "Everything's fine," he said curtly, putting his phone down. "Just make sure the apartment is spotless today. I'm having guests over tonight." Elena nodded and moved quietly to begin her work. Blake hardly registered her presence as he continued scrolling through Miranda's social media, torturing himself with images of her happiness. Miranda had been perfect on paper, the daughter of a banking executive, Harvard Business School graduate, connected to all the right people. Their relationship had been as much a strategic alliance as a romance. At least that's what he told himself now. That evening, Blake hosted a small gathering of business associates. The alcohol flowed freely as he tried to distract himself from thoughts of Miranda. As the night wore on, only his closest friend James remained, listening to Blake's bitter complaints. "She didn't even wait 3 months, James. 3 months." And with Richard of all people, Blake said, pouring another generous glass of bourbon. "Maybe it's time to move on, man," James suggested. "There are plenty of women who would kill to be with someone like you." Just then, Elena entered the living room to collect empty glasses. She moved efficiently, nearly invisible as she had been trained to be in wealthy homes. James followed Blake's gaze and raised an eyebrow. "Your maid is pretty hot. I never really noticed before." Something dangerous flickered in Blake's eyes. "Miranda is hosting a charity gala next weekend. I've been invited." And James asked, confused by the sudden change of topic. "And I'm not going alone," Blake said, a plan forming in his mind as he watched Elena. "I'm tired of looking like the pathetic ex-fiancée who got left behind." The next morning, Blake was nursing a hangover when Elena arrived for work. He watched her for a moment as she organized her cleaning supplies, noticing for the first time how gracefully she moved. "Elena," he called out, "I need to speak with you." She approached cautiously, standing a respectful distance from him. "Yes, Mr. Harrison, I have a proposition for you," Blake said. "I need someone to accompany me to an event next weekend. It's a charity gala, very high profile." Elena's expression was one of confusion. "Sir, I'll pay you double your usual rate," Blake continued. "All you need to do is wear a nice dress, look beautiful, and act like you're enjoying my company. I'll have a car pick you up and take you home." Understanding dawned on Elena's face, followed by something that looked like disappointment. "You want me to pretend to be your date? Consider it an extension of your regular duties," Blake said dismissively. "I'll have a dress delivered to you." Elena hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. "Mr. Harrison, I don't think I'll triple your usual rate," Blake interrupted. "One night, a few hours. Easy money." Elena's shoulders slumped slightly. "My daughter has been needing new glasses," she said quietly, more to herself than to him. "When is this event?" Blake smiled, satisfied. "Saturday at 8 p.m. I'll text you the details." The night of the gala arrived, and Blake waited impatiently in his living room for Elena to emerge from the guest bathroom where she had changed. When she finally appeared, he was momentarily speechless. The midnight blue gown he had sent fit her perfectly, accentuating curves he had never noticed before. Her hair, usually pulled back, now fell in soft waves around her shoulders. She looked uncertain, clutching a small silver purse like it was a shield. "Is this acceptable?" she asked nervously. "I've never worn anything this expensive before." Blake cleared his throat. "You'll do," he said, though in truth, she looked stunning. "Remember, tonight you're not my maid. As far as anyone knows, we've been dating for a few weeks." The car ride to the Plaza Hotel was quiet. Elena stared out the window, clearly uncomfortable in her role. Blake found himself wondering about her life outside of his apartment. "You mentioned a daughter," he said suddenly. Elena turned to him, surprised he had remembered. "Yes, Sophia. She's 6. And her father?" A shadow crossed Elena's face. "He's not in the picture. It's just the two of us." Blake nodded, unsure why he had asked. "The story tonight is that we met at a coffee shop. Keep it simple. I don't want to have to remember complicated details." As they entered the grand ballroom of the plaza, Blake immediately spotted Miranda across the room. She was radiant in a champagne-colored gown, her arm linked with Richard's. The sight of them together made his jaw clench. "Your ex-fiancée is here, isn't she?" Elena asked quietly. "That's what this is about." Blake was surprised by her perceptiveness. "Just play your part," he muttered, placing his hand on the small of her back to guide her through the crowd. Throughout the evening, Blake made sure to position himself and Elena in Miranda's line of sight. He laughed too loudly at Elena's comments, touched her arm unnecessarily, and made a show of being completely captivated by her. For her part, Elena played along with surprising skill. She was naturally warm and charming, winning over even the stuffiest of Blake's business associates. Her genuine smile and intelligent conversation drew people to her in a way Blake hadn't anticipated. "Where did you find this delightful creature, Blake?" asked Margaret Peterson, a senior partner at a prestigious law firm. "She's absolutely refreshing." Before Blake could answer, Elena spoke up. "We met quite by accident. I spilled coffee on his expensive suit." She glanced at Blake with what appeared to be genuine affection. He was surprisingly forgiving. Blake was impressed by her quick thinking and the ease with which she navigated the conversation. For a moment, he almost forgot why they were there. Then he saw Miranda approaching, Richard at her side. His body tensed, and Elena must have felt it because she placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Blake," Miranda said with a practiced smile. "It's good to see you." "Miranda, Richard," Blake nodded coolly. "This is Elena." Miranda's eyes scanned Elena from head to toe, a slight frown marring her perfect features. "How lovely to meet you." Blake didn't mention he was seeing anyone. "It's relatively new," Elena said smoothly. "But sometimes the best things happen when you least expect them." Richard looked uncomfortable. "The gala has been a success. The foundation will be able to fund 3 new clinics in underserved areas." Blake barely heard him. All he could focus on was the way Miranda was looking at Elena, with curiosity and perhaps a hint of jealousy. It was exactly what he had wanted. As Miranda and Richard moved on to greet other guests, Blake excused himself and Elena to get drinks. At the bar, he allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. "You're doing well," he told Elena. "Miranda definitely noticed you." Elena accepted a glass of champagne but didn't drink it. "Is that all that matters to you? Making her jealous?" Blake was taken aback by her directness. "That's what I'm paying you for, isn't it?" "Yes," Elena said quietly. "I suppose it is." As the evening progressed, Blake became increasingly aware of Miranda watching them. When the orchestra began playing a waltz, he saw his opportunity. "Let's dance," he said to Elena, not waiting for her response as he led her to the dance floor. Elena followed his lead gracefully, though there was a new stiffness in her posture. "You don't have to hold me quite so tightly, Mr. Harrison. I won't run away." "Blake," he corrected her, "and I need this to look convincing." They moved across the floor, and Blake could see Miranda watching them from the corner of his eye. Impulsively, he pulled Elena closer and lowered his lips to hers in a kiss that was meant purely for show. What he didn't expect was the soft warmth of her lips or the sudden jolt of electricity that shot through him. Elena froze for a moment before pulling away, her eyes wide with surprise and something else. Hurt. "Excuse me," she whispered, slipping out his arms. "I need some air." Blake watched her hurry away, confused by his own reaction. The kiss had been part of the plan, a way to show Miranda he had moved on. So why did he suddenly feel like he had done something wrong? Miranda appeared at his side, her expression unreadable. "She seems nice," she said. "Different from your usual type." "What's that supposed to mean?" Blake asked defensively. Miranda shrugged. "Just that she seems genuine. Not the kind of woman who would appreciate being used as a prop in whatever game you're playing." Before Blake could respond, Miranda walked away, leaving him alone on the dance floor with an uncomfortable truth settling in his stomach. He found Elena on a terrace overlooking the hotel gardens, her arms wrapped around herself against the cool night air. "I'm sorry," he said, surprising himself with the sincerity in his voice. That was inappropriate. Elena didn't look at him. "I understand what I'm here for, Mr. Harrison, but I'm not a toy to be used to make someone else jealous." Are you enjoying our story? Tell us where you're watching our videos from. Leave your city in the comments and what else you like to hear. Suggest a story for us. Blake felt a pang of shame. "You're right. It was disrespectful, and I apologize." Elena finally turned to face him. "Why are you so desperate to make her jealous?" "She's engaged to someone else. She's moved on." "Because she left me," Blake admitted, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. 3 years together, and she just decided I wasn't enough. She wanted someone more emotionally available, whatever that means. "Perhaps it means exactly that," Elena said quietly. "Being emotionally available isn't just about buying expensive gifts or taking someone to fancy restaurants. It's about being present, truly seeing the other person." Blake looked at her, really looked at her for perhaps the first time. "How did you get so wise?" A small smile played on Elena's lips. "Life experience. When you're a single mother working multiple jobs to make ends meet, you learn what really matters." For the rest of the evening, Blake found himself genuinely interested in Elena's company. They returned to the gala, but now when he laughed at her comments or touched her arm, it wasn't for show. He discovered she had been studying part-time to become a teacher, that her daughter Sophia loved astronomy, and that Elena could name every constellation in the night sky. When the evening ended, Blake insisted on seeing Elena home rather than just sending her in a car. Her apartment was in a modest but well-maintained building in Queens, worlds away from his Manhattan penthouse. "You don't need to walk me up," Elena said as the car pulled up outside her building. "I want to," Blake replied, surprising himself. At her door, Elena hesitated. "Thank you for the evening, Mr. Harrison. I'll see you on Monday for my regular hours." "Blake," he corrected her again. "And thank you. Not just for tonight, but for what you said. It gave me something to think about." Elena studied his face for a moment, then nodded. "Good night, Blake." As he returned to his empty penthouse that night, Blake couldn't stop thinking about Elena. Not just her beauty, which was undeniable, but her authenticity and the quiet dignity with which she carried herself. The next day, Blake found himself doing something he had never done before: researching scholarships for single mothers pursuing education degrees. He wasn't sure why, except that it felt like the right thing to do. Monday came, and Elena arrived at her usual time, back in her simple uniform, hair pulled into its practical ponytail. She worked efficiently, maintaining a professional distance. "Elena," Blake said as she was preparing to leave, "I found some information that might interest you." He handed her a folder. "It's about scholarships for your teaching degree. Some of them also provide stipends for childcare." Elena stared at the folder, then at Blake. "You researched this?" "For me." Blake shrugged, suddenly feeling self-conscious. "It seemed like something that might help you." Elena opened the folder, scanning the contents with growing amazement. "This is incredibly thoughtful. Thank you." "I also wondered if Sophia might like these," Blake said, reaching into his desk drawer and pulling out a small box. Inside was a pair of children's glasses with stars and moons on the frames. Elena's eyes filled with tears. "How did you know she loves astronomy?" "You mentioned it at the gala," Blake said simply. "I remembered." Something shifted between them in that moment. A barrier broke down, revealing a possibility neither had considered before. Over the next few weeks, Blake found reasons to be home when Elena was working. Their conversations grew longer and more personal. He learned about her journey from Mexico to the United States at 19, her dreams for her daughter, her struggle to balance work and education. In turn, he shared things he rarely discussed with anyone: his parents' messy divorce when he was 12, the pressure he felt to always succeed, his fear that he might never be truly loved for himself rather than his wealth. One day, Blake arrived home early to find Elena helping Sophia with homework at his kitchen counter. He paused in the doorway, struck by how right they looked there. "Mr. Blake," Sophia exclaimed, spotting him. She was a miniature version of her mother, with the same warm eyes and bright smile. "Mama said I could wait here until Mrs. Garcia from next door got home from work. I'm learning about the solar system." "Is that so?" Blake asked, joining them at the counter. "I used to love astronomy when I was your age." "Really?" Sophia's eyes widened. "Do you know about black holes and neutron stars?" Blake laughed. "Not as much as I should. Maybe you can teach me." Elena watched this interaction with a mixture of surprise and something softer, more vulnerable. "I hope it's okay that she's here. It was just for an hour." "Of course it's okay," Blake assured her. "In fact, I have an idea. The Natural History Museum has a new space exhibition. Perhaps the three of us could go this weekend? If you're free, that is." The hopefulness in his voice surprised even him. Elena studied his face, searching for something. Whatever she saw must have satisfied her, because she nodded. "We'd like that," she said softly. That Saturday was a revelation for Blake. Watching Sophia's excitement as she raced from exhibit to exhibit, listening to Elena explain constellations with passion and knowledge, he felt a contentment he couldn't remember experiencing before. It wasn't about impressing anyone or maintaining an image. It was simply about being present, as Elena had said. As weeks turned into months, Blake found himself increasingly drawn to Elena and Sophia. They began spending time together outside of her work hours. Visits to museums, picnics in Central Park, quiet dinners where Blake discovered Elena was an exceptional cook. He helped Sophia with her science projects and found himself looking forward to their weekend adventures more than any business success. Elena, too, began to let down her guard. She laughed more freely around him, shared her hopes and fears, and gradually stopped referring to him as Mr. Harrison. One evening, as they walked through Central Park after seeing Sophia off to a sleepover with a friend, Blake found the courage to address what had been growing between them. "Elena," he said, stopping beneath a lamppost that cast a warm glow over her face. "I need to tell you something." She looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the golden light. "What is it?" "I think I'm falling in love with you," Blake admitted. "Actually, no. I know I am. And it terrifies me because I've never felt this way before." Elena's expression softened. "Not even with Miranda?" Blake shook his head. "What I had with Miranda was it was what I thought I was supposed to want. But with you, I feel like I could just be myself. Flaws and all." "Blake," Elena said gently, "I have feelings for you too. But our worlds are so different. I clean your home for a living. I have a child. My life is complicated in ways yours isn't." "I don't care about any of that," Blake insisted, taking her hands in his. "The past few months have shown me what really matters. And it's not my penthouse or my investment firm or what people think of me. It's this genuine connection, being with someone who sees the real me and still chooses to stay." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I'm scared too. Sophia and I have been on our own for so long. I can't risk her heart or mine unless I'm sure." "Then let me prove it to you," Blake said. "Day by day. No rush, no pressure. Just us finding our way together." Their first kiss as a real couple was nothing like the performative one at the gala. It was gentle, tentative, and filled with genuine emotion. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. The transition wasn't without challenges. Blake's business associates were surprised by his relationship with the maid, some more accepting than others. Elena struggled with entering his world of wealth and privilege, always conscious of the disparities between them. But they faced each obstacle together with honesty and growing love. Elena continued her education, now with Blake's full support, though she insisted on keeping her independence. Sophia blossomed with the additional care and attention, her natural intelligence nurtured by both Elena and Blake. 6 months into their relationship, Blake received an invitation to another charity gala, the same annual event where he had first taken Elena as his fake date. This time, as they prepared to attend together, the contrast couldn't have been more stark. "Are you nervous about seeing Miranda again?" Elena asked as she fastened a modest pearl necklace Blake had given her for her birthday. Blake considered the question as he adjusted his tie. "Honestly, I haven't thought about her in months." It was true. The wound that had once seemed so devastating had healed completely, replaced by something far more genuine and fulfilling. At the gala, they were greeted warmly by some, with barely concealed surprise by others. Blake found he didn't care about the whispers or raised eyebrows. Elena's hand in his was all the affirmation he needed. Miranda and Richard approached them during the evening, champagne glasses in hand. "Blake, Elena," Miranda said with a genuine smile. "It's good to see you both again." "Congratulations on your marriage," Elena said warmly. "The pictures I saw looked beautiful. There was no tension, no jealousy, no games being played. Just four adults engaging in pleasant conversation." As Miranda and Richard moved on, Blake felt a profound sense of gratitude for how things had turned out. His attempt to make Miranda jealous had led him to the most authentic relationship of his life. Later that evening, as the orchestra played and couples filled the dance floor, Blake led Elena to a quiet corner of the terrace. The spring night was perfect, stars visible even through the city's light pollution. "Do you remember standing here a year ago?" he asked. Elena nodded. "You had just kissed me to make your ex jealous." "I was upset. I was an idiot," Blake admitted. "But somehow, you saw something in me worth giving a chance." "I saw a man who was hurt and lashing out," Elena said gently, "but also someone with the capacity for genuine growth and love." Blake took a deep breath and reached into his pocket. "Elena Rodriguez, you and Sophia have changed my life in ways I never could have imagined. You've taught me what it means to truly care for someone else, to put their needs before my own." Elena's eyes widened as Blake lowered himself to one knee, presenting a simple but elegant diamond ring. "I don't want to be your employer or just your boyfriend anymore," he continued, voice thick with emotion. "I want to be your partner in everything. Raising Sophia, supporting your dreams, building a life together based on respect and love." Tears spilled down Elena's cheeks as she looked at the man before her. Not the wealthy businessman who had once seen her as invisible, but the person he had become, thoughtful, generous, and genuinely loving. "Will you marry me?" Blake asked, vulnerability plain in his eyes. Elena's answer was a whispered yes, as she pulled him to his feet and into her arms. 1 year later, they were married in a simple ceremony in Central Park, with Sophia as the flower girl. Elena had completed her teaching degree and was working in an elementary school in Brooklyn. Blake had restructured his business to allow more time with his new family, discovering that balance made him not just happier, but more effective in his work. The newfound equilibrium in Blake's life was a testament to the profound shift Elena and Sophia had brought. His days, once a relentless pursuit of financial dominance, now held a richer tapestry of family dinners, weekend excursions to the park, and quiet evenings spent reading with Sophia or simply talking with Elena. He found that delegating more responsibilities at his firm, rather than diminishing his success, actually sharpened his focus on the truly critical decisions, leading to more innovative strategies and, paradoxically, even greater profitability. The stress lines that had once etched themselves around his eyes had softened, replaced by a genuine contentment that radiated from within. Elena, thriving in her role as an elementary school teacher in Brooklyn, discovered a deep fulfillment she hadn't known was possible. Her classroom was a vibrant space, filled with the laughter and curiosity of her young students. She brought her unique blend of empathy and practical wisdom to her lessons, often incorporating stories and real-world examples that resonated deeply with the children. Sophia, now 7, was a bright and inquisitive second grader, her love for astronomy still burning strong. She often brought home drawings of planets and stars, eager to share her latest discoveries with Blake, who had become her enthusiastic co-pilot in exploring the cosmos. Their shared passion for the universe was a quiet, enduring bond between them. Life, of course, wasn't without its minor adjustments. Elena, accustomed to a life of independence and self-reliance, sometimes found Blake's protective instincts overwhelming, particularly when he tried to smooth over every small inconvenience. They learned to navigate these moments with open communication, Blake learning to respect Elena's strength and her desire to handle things herself, and Elena appreciating the genuine care behind his gestures. Similarly, Blake, who had always valued meticulous planning, learned to embrace the delightful unpredictability that came with a child and a partner who sometimes preferred spontaneity. Their home, once a pristine, almost sterile environment, now bore the joyful marks of Sophia's art projects and Elena's vibrant personality. One crisp autumn afternoon, Blake arrived home early to find Elena grading papers at the kitchen island, a faint scent of cinnamon and apples lingering from a pie she had baked earlier. Sophia was in her room, engrossed in a new book about constellations. Blake watched Elena for a moment, admiring the way her brow furrowed in concentration, the soft curve of her smile as she occasionally jotted down a note. He realized how effortlessly she had integrated into his life, not just as his wife, but as the anchor that grounded him. "Long day?" he asked, walking over and gently kissing the top of her head. Elena leaned into his touch, rewarding as always. Little Leo finally understood fractions today. It was a breakthrough moment. She looked up at him, her eyes sparkling. "And you? Any major deals closed?" Blake chuckled. "A few. But honestly, the highlight of my day was knowing I'd be coming home to this." He gestured vaguely around the warm, inviting kitchen. "To you and Sophia." Elena's smile widened, a genuine warmth radiating from her. "You've changed so much, Blake. For the better." "Only because you showed me what truly matters," he replied, his voice soft with sincerity. He thought back to that night at the gala, his desperate attempt to wound Miranda, and how it had inadvertently led him to the most profound connection of his life. The superficiality of his past relationships now seemed like a distant, almost comical memory. He had chased an illusion of perfection, only to find true happiness in the messy, beautiful reality of love, family, and shared dreams. Their evenings often involved long conversations about their day, their plans, and Sophia's future. Elena would share anecdotes from her classroom, and Blake would recount the intricacies of his business, often simplifying complex financial concepts so she could understand. He found himself seeking her advice on matters beyond the personal, valuing her grounded perspective and innate wisdom. She had a way of cutting through the noise, seeing the core of an issue with remarkable clarity. One evening, as they tucked Sophia into bed, she looked up at them, her eyes heavy with sleep. "Mama, Papa," she mumbled, "can we go to the planetarium again soon? I want to see Saturn's rings up close." "Of course, Mija," Elena whispered, stroking her hair. "We'll plan it." Blake smiled, a quiet joy filling his chest. This was his life now. This was his family. And it was more fulfilling than any business deal or social triumph he had ever known. He had once sought to humiliate an ex, but in doing so, he had found his own redemption and a love that had brought him to his knees in the most beautiful way imaginable. The journey had been unexpected, fraught with missteps and misunderstandings, but it had ultimately led him to a place of profound peace and unwavering love. He knew, with absolute certainty, that every challenge they had faced, every lesson learned, had been worth it for the life they were now building together, brick by loving brick. The penthouse, once a symbol of his solitary success, was now a vibrant home, echoing with laughter, shared stories, and the quiet, comforting rhythm of a family truly connected.